G'day everyone, this is Rangadad. Sorry about yesterday's stream. Bit frustrating, got completely to the end of it and realised that it wasn't working properly because I was uploading some videos from the site visit the day before. Still syncing, I didn't realise it. It wasn't a super important one, I guess, just because it was basically saying we're probably going to range and maybe pull back a little bit over the next couple of weeks. But let's get into today's one. Actually, pretty even with the buys and the long and the short liquidation levels. Suggesting we could go up a little bit further before coming down, at least on the 1 day. But if we go out 7 days, we've actually got a lot of shorts in the chart. Go back out of the 30-day, and we've still got a lot of longs. So I actually have a feeling we over the next week we're probably going to sweep both those highs and those lows. So I think we will probably hit the 100K mark and a little bit over. May push a little bit higher than that on a week basis just to short squeeze some people, but ultimately I think we'll also over the next probably 10 days or so pull back down and hit the potentially down into the 86.5 sort of level. What does that look like? Let's have a look at liquidation map. Oops, sorry, liquidation heat map. Just check the stream's working. Yeah, looks good. So, as you can see, there is some pretty good levels up here for price to move into. Plenty of liquidity both above and below. Probably a little bit more below, but it's decent in both directions. So why I think we need to probably sweep lower and higher. When this spaced out, just a lot of people were coming in with longs. There was a fair chunk of longs coming into the order books as we were heading up here, people thinking that we're going back up past 100K and et cetera. But whenever we do come down, there's also quite a lot of shorts coming into the market as well, like as you can see here. Not huge volumes. It is Thanksgiving today, obviously, so expecting light sort of volumes, but still, it's kind of, when you see this sort of pattern where you've got lots of liquidity on both sides of the chart and you've just had a really long, really decent pump up and you've obviously paused that, then chances are we do coil sideways a little bit just to sweep a bit of this liquidity, get it out of the charts. And it could go on for 2 weeks or so because it takes a while to exhaust the buyers. Basically, the market maker wants to be the only one making money, one of the few making money. So yeah, sweeping this sort of region a couple of times could basically, it'll bring in more shorts in the market, which again, you can go up and sweep and then short squeeze them. But it'll also reduce the amount of longs that you'll get. You basically want people thinking that it's going to go down and crash. So somewhere like this 86.5 region in here, and this is a critical region, and I'll show you why in a second, but that sort of area there, even if it's only on a wick basis down into 85, is kind of, I think, a target over the next week, but not guarantee we'll go in there, but it's certainly set up for that being a potential target. I don't think this liquidity in here is going to get taken until probably after Christmas, I'd say. There is a very high chance we come into that level after Christmas, but for the time being, it could even wait till the next bear market. But anyway, move on. Again, CoinAnk, lots of shorts in the order books, still decent amount of longs as well coming into the charts as we drop. So, people were really loading up on both sides, lots of open interest as we were dropping here. Stayed relatively high as well. Interesting, we didn't get like a fantastic bottom signal here. The bottom signal really came around this level. But as we know, the first signal you get after a decent move is generally not the bottom. Getting pretty close to it here, but it still kept going. Long short ratio is still quite high. Still a lot of longs in the market. It pumped up as we were dropping. Looks like some people might have got liquidated there, but in general, there's still quite a lot of longs in the charts. Short-term liquidity still pretty balanced, but I get another little pump here just to tidy this up first before dropping again, just to suck in more longs. They can sweep. Looking at volume leaders, yesterday was interesting. There was IBIT was in nearly every single one of these summaries for largest trades, largest trade clusters, and there was a massive trade cluster. Like that there is, you don't often see that. That's huge. To me, that's probably some take profit right there. Like, yeah, that's just enormous. Enormous clustering, and funnily enough, they've had some clusters at these levels previously as well. To me, they seem to all be sell signals, but it could be accumulation. It's not hard to tell, but generally these big guys won't be buying after a decent pump like that. Generally, that will be sell signals. So again, still think there's potential for a bit more of a drop here. Financial sectors still trudging up. Kind of think we're pretty close to the top on a lot of the markets at the moment. Next week is like 33% of the time it's positive on the US stock market. So that is super low. That's like half the normal rate. So in general, next week is probably going to be negative, and with Bitcoin, potentially same thing. Maybe not a whole week negative, but certainly pullbacks are expected within the week. Coinbase has been getting some decent trades at the highs here as well. Again, could be accumulation. These guys will potentially hold on to these positions a lot longer than like short-term trades, but interesting to see some potential take profit on some of these moves. The 2x Coinbase fund actually looks more like they're buying here. So again, could be long-term positions, but third and fourth biggest trades and the second biggest trade here, that's probably a take profit, but I think these are accumulation trades. Just looking at this, it's not reacting the same way that Bitcoin is to this drop. So I think people are quite happy to just sit and hold Coinbase at the moment, expecting another leg up. XLY, so consumer discretionary, is having some decent trades up here. That's probably take profit, but whether these are distribution or accumulation, we'll wait and see. but at the moment, no clear sort of signal. It does look like the distribution, so it looks like it will potentially come down on X or Y, which will probably align with the market coming down in general. All right, let's get looking at the daily charts. Basically, this is the sort of range I'm expecting over the next week. It's probably not, doesn't go that long. Potentially, yeah, potentially that sort of time frame. We are retesting the value area high here. That was a pretty decent move above it. And it was a fairly good bounce off that high volume pivot there. I wouldn't expect this to go straight up from here. I wouldn't be shorting it either. Like, as we say, you don't want to short a dull market, and this looks like a dull market at the moment. But yeah, it's not looking super strong. And I think this could just be a recovery of this vector candle. So yeah, but would not be surprised if we swept all the way to the bottom of this, which is your 86,500 level. Potentially wick down to pick up this bottom of this wick here. Don't expect it to go any much lower than that. If we go much lower than that, then there's not much supporting it down to that 76k level. That was the proof of the move thing. So yeah, kind of think there's going to be some fake outs in here. One thing I'll have a quick look at is Ethereum, because that was a relatively important one that I covered yesterday. So Ethereum, I think it was back in here that I first flagged it as being potentially going to go on a decent run. Might have even been earlier, but we noticed that Ethereum longs, Ethereum versus Bitcoin longs, have just been stacking for ages. Now they've started to take some profit, which is a little bit surprising. Not really, but they've been taking profit since 23rd of November. If we actually have a look at that chart, yeah, they've basically been taking profit from in here somewhere. So after this first pump, they've started to take profits all the way along here. Still a lot more of those positions open, but I would expect pullbacks here. Like, that was a great breakout of that downward trend line here. This is just a retest of some key levels at the moment. It did struggle to break through that high volume area, and I would expect it to retest that. And maybe even just go a little bit sideways for a few days, but not necessarily. Ethereum could just have a little correction into this level around the 3,500 level and then push away pretty quickly. And then, yeah, I don't think we'll find much resistance at 37.90. I mean, technically we probably should, but if it goes on a decent run, I think Ethereum will quite quickly hit 4,100. And then from there, you're not far off the all-time high. So 5,000 Ethereum is probably not too far away, which will probably send the Ethereum ecosystem into a bit of a frenzy as well. So yeah, if we run up into start of January and then have a decent pullback across the market, then that's when I'd expect NFTs to really start pumping, I would say, because Ethereum is probably going to be hitting that all-time high. Maybe not in this run up, but it's certainly possible if it gets on a tear. Quick look at this chart. So Bitcoin versus the stables. Stables took back some ground, but it's probably going to base around here for a little bit, I think. What we don't want to see is stablecoins sort of breaking this level here. If they get back above that, then Bitcoin's probably going to come down quite a bit more, I'd say. Decent volume going on. All right. Up and have a quick look at the general markets. I got to go soon. I got to go to site again. I'll just do the equal weight. So equal weight Nasdaq pulling back. Don't really expect it to find much support here. I do expect over the next week or so to come into 91.50. We could even get a bigger pullback, but I'm still not expecting that until after Christmas, till that inauguration. Equal weight SPY just chopping around at the highs for the time being. Again, pullbacks likely over the next week or so, but still potentially just into 184 level. IWM struggling to break to that new all-time high, but IWM tends to outperform the other two big markets, so the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 over the next month or so. So I am looking for that to break out, but it'll probably correct pretty hard after Christmas. So whether we get a pullback, probably in the next week, a pullback into at least the 13 EMA, potentially even a 20 EMA is probably sitting around this previous resistance level. Wouldn't be a bad pullback before a move up. XLI is still at the highs. Again, it's probably going to pull back as well. Equal weight XLY, XLP is still high. So again, the economy's not looking super sick or anything like that, but I do expect this to pull back potentially into this level here over the next week or so. You're looking for turnarounds or signs of basing on this for the next leg up in the markets. KRE, so regional banks are still doing pretty good. The other thing was the advanced decline lines still postured to the upside, still above the moving averages. So again, that's not looking particularly unhealthy there. But as you can see, we do, like I'm not expecting a big tear like this. I'm probably expecting more of a chop and pull back into this sort of level again over the next week. Yeah, momentum is sort of quite high on a lot of these, and it is turning to the downside as well. Should have shown that for IWM. The IWM's still got a little bit of upside left potentially, but I think the rest of them are getting pretty high. And Nasdaq equal weight looks like it's turning around a bit. Just quickly. Yeah, we haven't seen the same pullback on the actual NAS, which just means that we probably will. It's just the options market and stuff like that, and the bigger guys tends to keep this thing higher for a little bit longer than what it probably should technically. DJI gold is still reasonably high, so again, suggesting the market's not looking for a massive breakdown at the moment. Could actually keep going higher on the markets, to be honest. It's just seasonality wise, statistics are against you at the moment. VIX is really low. It's probably going to base over the next probably base late in December, I'd say. But I would expect it to have a little bit of a bounce this week. Skew still quite high on the skew as of yesterday. This was a pretty good sign that we were going up, but I'd like to see a bit of a crush on this to actually think we're going to get that pullback next week. Maybe tomorrow on the US market, we'll get a bit more of a pullback. It's getting up there, pretty high levels. Certainly reverse that downward trend that we were looking at. Interesting. Like if we get to new highs here, then that would be surprising, but I'd definitely be looking for a correction on the market if we were up around there. As it is, it's a pretty good spot for pullback. HSI, so Chinese market. Again, it's still trying to find a level that it wants to really take off from, but I kind of expect it to have one more try to the downside here. 18,600 is still my level, I reckon. Japanese market, it's really basing off this 200 EMA at the moment. If we break below that, it'll come down pretty hard, I think. But stochastic momentum's low and moving up. BBWP is almost reset. Probably a little bit, again, sort of sideways and down potentially over the next week or so. Japanese market, there was some carry trade unwind as well. UK market is surprisingly, it's back in this range, so it's not really anything to write home about. It's probably going to come down a bit again over the next week or so. Japanese carry trade unwind looks like it's happening a little bit, just because the Japanese yen had a decent bounce over the last few days, and the US stock market has found it hard to sort of push new levels. But yeah, it's kind of looking like the Dixie's finally going to roll over a bit more. So yeah, in general, that'll normally let stocks run a bit, but it'll be interesting to see where this heads. So if stocks do pull back and this is pulling back at the same time, again, it's not what normally happens, but we're in a weird market at the moment where it's sort of overall, like general markets and ETFs and stuff are going to do weird shit compared to individual stocks. I think definitely in late cycle at the moment. Treasuries going pretty good after a buy the other day. Look, it's probably going to have some resistance and have some pullbacks, bit of a dead cat bounce. High yield. Again, this is pointing towards more upside on the market than downside, so pretty critical level here though. So we might actually get a little pump on Friday on the market. So this is a fair way from closing that gap though. I don't think it will at the moment. General bond market probably needs to pull back before it will go to the upside again. This bond indicator is kind of sideways at the moment. It does actually look like it wants to push to the upside though, which is interesting. Again, it could move a little bit more sideways in the momentum side of things and then push up, but again, generally things look like they're geared for more upside than not. It's just whether it comes next week or not. I still think it'll be the week after, just based on that seasonality side of things. 2-year, 10-year, yeah, both coming down, but I'd be surprised if they didn't bounce somewhere around that 200 EMA. Copper, again, it's trying to find a base here. Looks like it's basing, but we need really copper needs to break above that $4.20 for any sort of decent market bull run to happen, I would think. So looking for signs of big recovery on copper. Gold still sort of trudging. Yesterday I did mention that it was struggling to get back through this 50 EMA, and the target is probably down into the 2005-85 sort of level to recover this vector here, which will bring you into the 100 EMA as well. Yeah, a little bit more pullback on gold. You could look at this as a macro lower high, which if you're looking for a lower low, then that could bring in the 200 EMA over the next couple of weeks. There is a fair sort of support resistance level through there. That is definitely on the cards, but at this stage, I don't expect that to be the case. Not at this stage of the market cycle. Gold, silver, yeah, basing there probably. So silver might go on a bit of a run compared to gold. US oil, nothing really. We need to either break to the downside or the upside. If we break the downside, it's probably going to happen early next year, I think. I don't expect, like, you'd expect the economy to be in a bad way if that breaks to the downside. But for a full-on market correction to happen, I actually expect this to go ripping to the upside as well. So that to me is suggesting big, like, GFC type crash isn't going to happen anytime soon. But so we'll probably get one more leg up next year, one more decent pump. We stocks above 15 moving average. We've got an interesting wedge forming here. You're looking for that to base around the 50 mark. But yeah, potentially pull back. Might try one more try to the upside tomorrow, but generally down next week. Mag 7 still just friggin' churning through this level. It's probably going to pull back, to be honest. Nothing major happening on the markets really, so I think I'll leave it there. But that's my key range for Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to be a massive dump at the moment, but could run into that 86 to just freak everyone out.